God. Okay, it's been a minute since I did StreamYards. So StreamYards doesn't start when you expect it to start. That's so cool. That is fun. That's nice. It's been a hot minute since I've done it. Now, I wanted to discuss when it happened. I think it was like last month or so, but I didn't feel up to it. Got feeling like shit the whole time. Discuss the banning of both Nadu and Grief. Nadu was probably a very big design choice problem, right? So let's go to the infamous, right? Nadu was on a Magic bans don't truly happen every year. They might happen once a year ish, right? Give or take. Bad things occur. See, and then just what happened the other day, I opened up Twitter. Rules Committee decided to ban 4 cards out of Commander. Not 1, 2, 4. I gotta get into that. That is just the absolute pits, and I could predicted the fallout of it. So, Wizards attempt, right? Because I played both 40k and took kind of half a 10th edition off because money thing, hobby time, lack of interest. I mean, losing a portion of your army doesn't help. Just didn't feel like rebuilding it. Legending my fucking chaos that I use. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna. Oh, I don't know. Investment wasn't there. But I went more into Magic and then PC and streaming and do what I do. Desert. Give or take. But that's time. That's another story. So, this is what's funny. So, Pioneer and Modern. This was from, what? In August, right? So, yeah, so about a month ago. Clearly, creature status, right? Because that's because of Vein Ripper. Vein Ripper was the reason why I think this got banned. Because the vampire deck was really strong in Pioneer. Nadu, right? Here's a funny thing about Nadu. Nadu was designed for Commander. Okay? Fine. Sure. Philosophy and Nadu, right? So take Magic I've been playing since Nemesis, both competitive and that. For God's sakes, I've played every flavor of Tron. I have most decks. That's more my preferred deck for Modern, to be honest. I mean, I have others, but it's one I've lighted with. Grief is another thing. Grief joined Fury as the ban in the ban list. Grief clearly was. But Nadu did get banned, and this was a month ago. Nadu, of course, was probably because there's the article on it, and it goes into why. Apparently, its conversion rate was 50%. So, its conversion rate was 50-something percent. 55? The end. I mean, you're talking, it was converting at 50%, 55%, 59% of mirrors, non-mirrors, or something like that. That's kind of insane when you get into it, right? I mean, but hell, the One Ring still terrorizes Modern. I haven't picked up one for my Tron deck. I mean, to be fair, I don't know. I need to. I haven't thought about it. I mean, it doesn't really help me. But, you know, I could. But it's like a $60 card. Like, I mean, but it's one of the few cards that Lord of the Rings sells. I mean, hell, that and Orcish Bowmaster. Because I sell cards as much as I play, and I do it as well. Lord of the Rings got, like, pretty much was, it's like, Ed Cook and other people who have to debate tomorrow, but he's a dumbass on the whole idea of life. I have to decide if a set's worth it. Modern Horizons 3 had clear an effect. I mean, Commander and that. There's only like a couple of cards out of Lord of the Rings that are like really big. One's like Orcish Bowmasters you don't really see, and then the One Ring. Now, Urza's Saga, right? Been around for ages. Since the inception. No, not a problem. Ugh, but I digress. You know? Never an issue. But Nadu Winged Wisdom was like, well, it's good. It's going to be good in Commander, right? So you're talking like one of the highest. So the big deal was, yeah, Tron, E-Tron, right? 54% conversion rate. Yeah. Nah, E-Tron is what I have the green red Tron, which is like really like actually I have all Tron variants, but green Tron, you have green red Tron. It winds up being the same deck periodically. It's weird. But 4-color Nadu, right? So it was barely 55%. That's pretty alarming, okay? Well, that's very alarming right here. When you hit 55%, you can ask why they don't inconsistent, right? I mean, Boreas Burn, I have a high doubt. That's just probably because Wizards hopes their self-regulation. If you do not know what self-regulation is, this is what 40K's been trying. You see what shakes out if you make a tune every 3 to 6 months. Like a ban list, because a lot of their employees, some of their people have gone over there, has been ex-Wizards employees. So that's what you see, and I warned them about that. And it's starting to affect the game over there. So it's like over there, you don't know if your army is going to be viable. I mean, to be fair, that's what happened to me. It's like starting 10th edition, they want to simplify the game, but Legends ruling, and then I have to just entirely reformulate an army, and I was like, oh, you talking about like money? Like you're talking like it's a lot more than simple. I mean, like Edward, who I'll debate tomorrow, is a Baroque. He can't afford hobbies. He has 3 kids. He semi-relationship, but I don't have money set aside for hobbies, right? I don't deny, like, my commander decks, even that I build, they're fun, but I can overpower them if I so choose, are $500-$600. Physically, I have built them. I have 2 versions of Atraxa built. Like 18 of the damn things. Some have duplicates, some they're all filled out, some still have proxies. But if the cards hit like $30-$40, hell, it's like with like So Modern Horizons 3, while being a weird set, it also had Ugin stuff as well in it. The Ugin land, which immediately went from like $20 to $80. No, not broken at all. So Mono Black Necro, that's Necro Dominance. Grief, you could say had a 47. Right, so Nadu's win rate, right? This is what's funny. When you look, One Ring is in 40% of the decks. Falage, 35. This is why One Ring is getting looked at. Apparently, Dranith magistrates in 50% of decks. Guess that's what you're saying, 50. The thing is, it's the elephant in the room at this point. This here is the same way. This is just a lightning helix creature. You know? You're talking, and if you go back, Deathsborn has overpowered things. Now, here's a bigger one. That one is a bigger discussion. Mana Crypt, that commander, this will lead into that. So you're talking a deck that has Grief, I guess, right, Boreal Synergy, and 4-color Nadu. So Nadu's at 58%. I guess Ruby Storm, that's, well, Storm is a deck that's actually... Storm is a mechanic, I guess, right? Ruby Medallion, make everything cheap and do Storm. What is the win rate? What is it using? Pest and Flames, Winds Resolve, Wish, Strike It Rich. What is its actual? What is its actual thing? Huh. Is it that? I wonder if it's because of his flip side. Huh. I mean, largely a problem. I mean, Arena of Glory has been a thing. But yeah, as I said, Sacred Foundries have been like some. So you're going Grape Shot now, so. Oh. Oh, yeah. Nah, so you get like this. It's either that or you do the other. Yep. So you do this. Oh. Yeah. That's so Storm is a very stupid mechanic that it's one of those things. There's a reason it doesn't get reprinted, but apparently they didn't think it would be a bright idea. Yeah, let's reprint medallions back into Modern. Yeah, about that. Yeah, no, totally fine. Okay. It's a thing. It literally is a thing. Yep. mean, I don't know. Amulet Titan, right? You're talking like how you side. It's a strange deck. But Ruby Storm was way up there as well as far as so you have this. Nadu got banned, and I guess that's because. The explanation is more or less, yes, it reaches that level. Eldrazi Winter is an actual thing that occurred. Eldrazi Winter is because I actually played during that. There was three Eldrazi decks, and that was actually a really good year for me. Mono Black Eldrazi, Bant Eldrazi, which I think wound up surviving, and Blue Red, because it actually led to the banning of Eye of Ugin, which made all cost 2 less. That's like saying if you played in the Flash meta, you remember Eldrazi Winter. It's see, Standard is in a fine place, right? Banning of creature-based combos, right? It was real easy. Vein Ripper, right? Vein Ripper is the reason. Basically, you can go this into Vein Ripper. That actually makes things really busted. The whole thing, right? It's like Treasure Cruise, Fable to the Mirror Breaker. I mean, this card is way up there as well. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is like Kiki Jiki Light in Pioneer. Grief was really bad in Legacy. Like, it's very easy. Urza Saga, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Vintage is kept up. You gotta understand, right? And this is a bigger deal. June, there was no bans. They're like, well, do we need to address the meta? Now that it is. Like, they do acknowledge, right, that if they say, oh, Nadu needs to be banned, but we can't do anything, we just released it. They were like, yeah, these are what we're watching. Go back to March 11th. Nothing. Like, see, the whole is, right, they want to make Standard a 3-year format. You just gotta look at it. It's one of those things of, okay, it's something you look at. But they banned Violent Outburst. That made more sense because Living Death, what's the other deck that's up there? Living End? Living End is always a deck. It's just you're trying to get whatever. Living End is free casting into, what is it? It's a cascade spell into it. Basically, you get in there. Now, it is funny how Leyline of the this turned out not to be the card. Like, I need to get one for a deck, but it's weird how cards show up. Like, Up the Beanstalk, I guess. See, previous Modern, right? This is when they banned both Fury and Up the Beanstalk. I mean, it's just weird. Like, I mean, I'm guessing if you hear, right? Like, that's just basically with types, dual lands. Those are real easy. like vintage is way up there as part of the issues, like Mishra's Workshop, which will never be reprinted. Um, but up to Beanstalk, right? When they're talking like in December when they banned it, because Fury was part of the cycle that Grief came from. See, there we go. There's Orcish Bowmasters. See, you got Red Blue Murktide, right? Orcish Bowmasters, one of the other ones that really makes. There's only two cards that make that set move outside of the sheer collector's market. Outside of the sheer collector's market for Lord of the Rings, for all the alt frames and the soul rings that you might get or you might not get. Right. Just saying. Cinematic style cards. Commander. Orcish Bowmasters in both. Now, believe it or not, preordained, I think. I mean, Mind's Desire is unbanned, but bear in mind, Mind's Desire has been around a while. And they're like October, right? December, it's weird. Like, you're talking what they agree to ban and what they don't ban. And they wait till a card becomes cancer and then do it. This was going back. So you had like 58% win rate. And it's a very big deal. They do admit that, look, people screw up. Legitly. Right. Michael Majors was a lead designer on basically Modern Horizons 3. Michael Majors is a former pro. Okay. Yeah, see, okay. Here's the great December ban and unbanned list too. Fury is banned, Up the Beanstalk is banned, The Great Creator got banned, and Explorer, Appraisal got banned, Pauper, sure. Pioneer and Modern. Like, Smuggler's Copter has been the weird thing, and Pioneer, like, scary. I say Karn, the Great Creator. It's like, I want to say, like, which one's banned already? Shit, I gotta find it. But so, let me see. This is something. 2 months ago, they were talking about emergency banning, like, basically Nadu prior, but they would have screwed up the Pro Tour. It was going to cause issues. It's because you have to submit your deck list now, and it's like $100 to even enter nowadays. And I will say that's not for everybody. That's not for everybody. Because, okay, right. So, let me see. Let me see. Here's our. So, this is the thing, right? They go in standard. I'm going to close this. Nadu has been a problem, right? Michael Majors is a former pro who did it. Worked. I guess this is what happens. He didn't think it was bad. Like, they know the One Ring is bad. They know Necro Dominance is bad. Like, let's see here. Like, Psychic Frog. It's funny, I never saw that. It's like some stuff I missed. So, like, you're dealing with, like, Necro Dominance is basically, uh, here's the thing about Necro Dominance. Necro Dominance is Necropotence, but when people realized it went down. Mono Black, especially being Pioneer, has always been. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, as I said, has always been a bad card. Like, that card was talked about being banned in Standard, like, before its passing. I mean, that thing busts every format it touches. It's just been a staple. See, like, when you get, like, 30% or a deck touches a 30% ratio, like a 50% win ratio, it's pretty much. Once you start hitting that 50, you gotta start. If you start hitting that 50%, 53, 55% consistent to like 54, yeah, your days as a deck is numbered. They're banning something. If it's a staple of a format or been cancerous for about 6 months, you're going to. It's like I sold my Jason Mind Sculptors before they got banned in Standard. But that was a format if that card reached $80 or $100. Well, we all knew that card was getting banned at some point in that Standard because of if you're playing blue, you're playing it. If you were playing white, you're playing Stoneforge Mystic. When about good 45, 50% of the decks you faced in the format that was a staple, then yes. So part of the problem too is fire design. Fire design's catching up to Wizards. Fire design was done a long time ago. It was around Thrones of Eldraine, in fact. Meaning if you make a card, throw it into a vacuum, you can do it. Free casting is definitely an issue as well. That's why Fury, Endurance, I think Solitude. So you still see Solitude. All Solitude is a path to path of exile. Path to exile. And path to exile is Swords of Plowshares. I want to say I forget what the blue one does, but they're not relevant. Green one, I think, was it Modern Horizon 2? But the free casting, right? Jesus, it looks like that. Were the elemental incarnations? Yes. So if you look at them, so Solitude removes Endurance, just shoves stuff on the back of the bottom of your deck. Yeah, Solitude is a force of will. Oh, Subtlety. Sorry. Subtlety is the name of it. But Fury proved to be too much. So, you're looking at a realm. That's what people don't get. Let's show it. So, Subtlety, right? So, Subtlety. But these aren't powerful enough in a vacuum that they get. I mean, Solitude is good, but it's not backbreaking. Fury is different. Fury is entirely separate. Fury and Grief of the Cycle were both banned. Now, the more controversial. The problem with Grief is Grief needed a shell to work. Part of it was because of the Omnath and worked its way into a deck. There was an elemental deck that was wreaking havoc for about 6 months. Like 4 to 6 months, there was no answer. And then it worked it. Fury worked its way into the Rakdos mid-range, which, again, once a card reaches about 50% of decks, it starts getting looked at or warping. It made it very unfair. Now, in reality, sure. Now, I get to the more interesting part. Stuff that gets banned, right? Great Creator, by the way, is one of the biggest hosers in the world. Commander, it's bad. No one talks about it. Like, I don't think anyone talks about this card. Like, it's a one-sided just screw you, right? It is very easy. What was that, actually? I have to look. Gatherer. Let me go look at Gatherer. I think it got banned in about every format in the existence. Right. Yeah, by the way. This is Jace the Mind Sculptor, if you don't know it. Jace the Mind Sculptor, when it was in Standard. People scooped when they saw it. You just basically took your opponent's decks out, and then, yeah. Like, what you do is you just bear in mind, World Wake, it's a very dark place. Let me see, not Karn, I want that. Yeah, that, no, so Karn the Great Creator. Yeah. No. Karn the Great Creator. See, Karn the Great Creator is one of those cards that I have to check. Because I don't think one card they banned. One card they did. I forget which one they did. It's been that long. Yeah. I want to say it was Steel Lattice? Anyways. So, let me see. Legality. Yeah, so you got banned in Pioneer. Yeah, I knew it got banned in one of the formats. But still modern, legal, vintage, restricted, fully early in the US. Commander, still legal. Right. Yeah, that's because you do, that's what you do, Mycosynth Lattice. No, Mycosynth. Mycosynth Lattice is, this card. Yeah, it got banned in Modern. They didn't take out Karn, they took out this. Yeah. Would you like to know why? It's because you turn everything into artifact, and then you can play stuff that hurts artifacts. It's fun. Terrible. See, now let's get to the big one. Commander. Now, the Rules Committee officially statement has no ties to Wizards of the Coast, even though half of them are sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. Not sus. Never been sus. Josh Lee Kwai. What is it? Half the people on It's the Command Zone podcast. I think majority of them. The rules committee members. What was it? Sheldon was on there for a while. But, like, here's something. Now, when I say self-policing, Commander is supposed to be self-policing. Right? Commander is supposed to be self-policing. Rule 0, by the way. Rule 0. You know what I do in Commander? This is what I do. I always have substitutes for cards, right? People get tired of being dominated. You can power or depower a deck. Right? Self-regulation. Not everyone likes having a big win ratio, right? You can go look at CEDH all day and just find this. Now, this is not surprising. That card has been a Commander staple for I'll bring it up here. This. So originally printed in a Commander deck, right? And originally printed and once. Costs 2 mana. And then you get a token, you get a treasure token for every enchantment and artifact on the field. Right? Doesn't seem terrible. Until you realize it's in Legacy and Vintage, but right? It's in Legacy and Vintage. You know what you do with it? So with 4 players that play a bunch of enchantments and artifacts, the thing might give you 8 to 10 things. Treasure tokens were something that when they got... It's so weird. So Commander 2019, that it got reprinted. It was in a 1 deck, by the way. And it shot up to like $40, $60, became a staple. And it, of course, was in 22. So they reprinted it. Now, love it or hate it, it's in Commander. But God forbid that you have degeneracy. Think of it. 30 plus years of Magic sets, right? Give or take. 30 years. Going on 34 years, something like that. You don't have broken. And if someone can build it, they can break it. That's Commander. See, initially I didn't get into Commander until... God, what year? Because I started that as a side project, actually. Crick. Oh, God. Huh. Crick was the one. Okay, hold on a sec. Yeah, Commander 2019. I didn't start till then. Nope. 2 of my favorite Commander decks. Both spawned out of this deck. That was Chainer, what is it? Trainer Nightmare Adept, which is now modern legal, by the way. Fun. If I could ever find a way to make it work there. A lot better in Commander. Initial. But yeah, what's funny is Crick. Yeah, Crick is this is what inspired me to actually get into Commander. Classic player at heart. Phyrexian mana is nowhere near broken. Halfway kill yourself, and then see Commander. You start with 40 life. You can pay like 20 life in a turn. If they don't kill you, you win the next turn. Totally fine. Hey. And there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. So, here's something. So back to what I was saying. So, Commander, as you can see, is full of degeneracy. Precasting in Commander is like one of those things. Life is a resource. You got to bear in mind, life is a resource. Anything that free casts, okay, pretty much broken in Commander. Anything that creates treasure tokens out of the ass, broken in Commander. Anything that allows you to pay life for instead of casting with mana, broken. Right. Now, let me see. See, Dockside, right? T-Grid. Oh, God. How do you spell T-Grid? T-Grid. See, there's problematic T-Grid. I'll find it, though. T-Grid has been way up there to get banned. There's a lot of like cards no one likes playing against. Jesus, you name it. Of the so of like so just to give an idea, right? Here in Commander, right? You have very powerful cards, so to speak. Commander has very powerful cards. There's about 4 powerful commanders. There's about 5. Well, let's see. Some were released in about the same year. Yuriko, Atraxa, Ur-Dragon, Edgar Markov. Most never saw reprints. Ur-Dragon is your generic dragon. Atraxa, Creator's Voice. But a problem. Nowhere near. Atraxa is not, you can have all sorts of stuff, but to be fair, right? Proliferation, infect, poison, anything underneath the sun, right? I think the only thing I need, and I just got to justify it to myself, is getting this. That and a Shieldred. God sakes. Would be nice to get one day. I need to get a Shieldred now. Commanders that are 4+, which are 5. Ur-Dragon's the other one. This one right here. Ur-Dragon. Basically your generic dragon commander. Bree. do that. Edgar Markov is the other one. If you ever wonder why a lot of these are very powerful. Yuriko, Tiger Shadow. Springtime Yubizawa was there. See, that's what I was talking about right here. Lord of the Nazgul. He's very much a Wraith commander. Anything that uses Wraiths, creature types. But unfortunately, these go in the same deck. Both of these are about the same deck, but Yuriko breaks commander rules because the thing about Yuriko uses ninjutsu. I'm gonna have to get another one of those. I want to get that one. There's a couple I need to update that deck with. Right. It's a couple. It's weird, by the way. This set, I think these lands right here with Deathborn. But this deck I finally built. What was about prior to Kamigawa coming back out again. So a lot of this, right? So I do know Commander. The only thing I don't care to build, like of it, I have the other. Like I have Atraxa. I have 2 Atraxa deck built. 2 Eldrazi decks built. So I know what I'm talking about when I come to Commander. So I know the power of Commander. Like, it's like, do you want to be behind this? Probably not. This is scary. These two go together. These two are in the same deck. Like, both those are. I mean, think of an Eldrazi, right? I want you to just think of an Eldrazi. Colorless Eldrazi can basically play any one of these. Like this, I have in Tron. This is probably came out, and this was automatically added to like Tron decks. Just on casting, they lose half their decks. This right here came down in price because it's only good in Commander, and it's very expensive. No one's paying, what, $9 for that? No. Like, this is still $48 because this goes into Tron. This goes into everything under the sun. Cosmic Butcher of Truth is really there. These are more common than printed. So get the idea. It's like 5 color commanders too. Not Morafon. Not Ramos. This was one of the last ones I built this year. I have this one built too. But they're fun more than anything else. But there's a sub-commander in this one. Tiamat's a good one, but see, I want to build this. That's a separate topic for one day. But you got to build the assassin deck. See, these are in the same ones. So Morafon, that hell, that deck was like $200 something. Thank God I had like half of it. But like the reason why Dockside Extortionist got banned, right? Dockside Extortionist has an interesting story. It's banned, right? It was in. You're talking. This is how much it was played. 92%, 91, 86, 84, 82, 70, 16. You name a color combination with red, the damn thing was in it. Okay. It was all over Commander. It's there, it's here, it's everywhere. It was all over. It had been on the Commander radar for pretty solid for like 6 years. Like, people thought Crick was stupid. Like, partner commanders could use it. But look at it this way. This card, same way. It is everywhere. Oh, but it's an enchantment. It's in almost every deck that plays blue. Let's go Smothering Tide. 25% of decks. 28% of decks. What was Dockside? Dockside was in 16. Guarantee was in probably that. Now, in reality, when you look at it, why did it get banned? Sure. But bear in mind, the hated Commander decks, right? Let's go to that. Yes, I'm waiting for this thing to go down. That thing has been $70 because it's viable in 3 formats, by the way. T-Grid, one of the most toxic commanders you can play. Or Turgrid, not banned. Was banned by getting banned for years, right? Gix is... It's funny. Gix, I have like 2 of him. But he went up. Modern. What's funny is the rat commanders, right? What's funny is rats as a tribe shot up recently. Oh yeah, she's been printed once. And she's part of strategies, but do say. So T-Grid, very controversial card. Not banned. But you banned Dockside. You leave Rhystic Study in. You still have. Knowing this, right? It's 8,000 decks, but most people self-regulate. Braids is... I don't even know. To be fair, half these cards that are black. See, this is a funny one, by the way. Just released. But this is mostly standard. What's funny is when you look at a lot of decks, like, bear in mind, Imhotep the Stormlord, this type stuff. Marrow-Gnawer, what was it? Marrow-Gnawer? I think it was Marrow-Gnawer that actually... it was because of the Nezumi, right? It was like a couple of rat commanders came out. And that was always... There was a couple of them. But, right now, anything that's demons is been perking up Dustmourne. So every time a good demon's printed, okay? Every time a good demon is printed, actually, Dragon, Demon, or Angel, Dragon either goes up, and Kalia the Vast. Kalia of the Vast. Anything. Every time a good demon is printed, Be'lakor goes up now. Or Sauron goes up. Just so you know. Every single time. Just as simple. Because those commanders are going hand in hand. And they're talking about new cards. What's funny is, it's funny that I picked up like 4 of those. Or I hope I did. Because this is a one-time printing. And it makes all demons cheaper. So, it's not good. Just some of it. But demon commanders, yes. People like Edward and other people, they don't understand hobbies, and you have to keep track of these things. But do as I said. There's a lot of broken cards in Commander. But Dockside Extortionist has been around for, as I said, since 2019. Commander 2019. And it was very limited. It got reprinted, I think, in 2022. So let's say in the last 2 to 3 years, got heavily done. But then again, there's a dark side that Wizards doesn't talk about. A lot of stores are holding Commander events versus constructed events. So if you're worried about it, the rules committee has to step in. Now, this is something I had to look up, right? So, nadu, right? Simic commanders are notable for being really bad. Nadu was only 5,000 decks. It only had like a 39% rate. Fine. In the pods it was in. That's partly if I ever get into Commander philosophy, because Commander is full of casual people who do not know how to recognize threats. So, give or take. But it's deemed a threat for Commander? Even though it was designed for Commander? Right. As Major said it was designed for Commander. But therefore the Rules Committee banned it. Fine. Take your pick. Take your commanders. Take any of these color pairs. You can find something to generate in the bunch. Now, Dockside, right? Basically, their whole excuse for banning Nadu was okay. This is probably why I see Wizards yeeted it, and Wizards should have thought about it. I think it's the players. Like, the Simic Show runs a risk of grinding the game down to a slog of resourceful Echo, which interacts badly with cards that are staples of casual play. Now, this could beg the question of why would you bring a commander that is a nuclear device to a table you know you're going to steamroll? This is where you need to self-regulate as a commander player. Rule 0 doesn't work. They've been trying to get around Rule 0 for the longest time. See, Dockside Extortionist, Turgid, Rustic Study, etc., right? There's like a list of cards which are all on a list until they cross a path. Hell, fucking ban Thassa's Oracle at this point. Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation. Two of the leading wins in competitive EDH. Demonic Consultation. Name a card that's not in your deck. Draw your entire deck. Play Thassa's Oracle. Thassa's Oracle is 2 blue merfolk for like a 1/3. Scry the top cards of your deck from the blue mana. If there isn't there, you automatically win the game. Jesus. This is something. So Thassa's Oracle, right? So it's Thassa's Oracle. This takes 7% of decks. But look at the percentage. It's in every one of these decks. Doesn't make sense now, does it? If the deck is blue, it's probably likely there. I say this as a person who plays this game because look at that one of it. It's like Demonic Consultation. It's like what players don't say. Like, look, if you're getting into competitive CEDH, there's just cards. Thassa's Oracle. Right. It's just. Yeah, CEDH has a whole shit ton of just dumb cards that exist in it. And you're talking like this card was here. Now, here's a funny card that got Dockside Extortionist has a whole thing. Like they've known about it for years. But bear in mind, come after every card that makes treasures. Ancient Copper Dragon? Yeah, Ancient Copper Dragon. Yes. Ancient Copper Dragon. Baldur's Gate. It's Baldur's Gate. The second one. Right? That costs 6 treasure tokens. Roll a d20. Hell gets 5 tokens. Oh, by the way, there is no way to take infinite attack turns in Commander. Right. A format with 30 years of cards and no redundancy. Uh-huh. 30 years of redundant. There is no such thing as redundancy in Magic. Oh, let's see a second. Oh, Asmodeus, Oh, you're here, yeah. Asmodeus, yeah. No, it's just an example. The nadu banning, right? It's not that Commander is garbage. Commander is a format that is driving Wizards' design. It's What is it? I don't think garbage. I do think they don't. I think commander cards don't deserve a place in a. See, here's the iffy part. You have to ask yourself in design, does Commander is their leading seller, right? So let's say you design a premier set. It's not that Nadu was broken, right? Nadu was designed for Commander, but it's put into Modern Horizons 3, which premium sets, by the way, as a person who sells, how much do you think those cost to box? Not for you to buy, for me to buy. If I had a direct dealership, and if I ever dealt with direct with a dealer, 150 to 180 a box. I want you to think about that a second. That's how much those cost. That's not collector's edition. Yeah, well, see, Asmodeus, right? I agree with you. Like, I'm a long-time Magic player, right? The idea, right, is they do take into commander design as well as things. Now, what I have seen, and this is what I don't like about the commander community, and this is why I was hesitant to ever get into it in the first place. I only do it as a side because between competitive seasons, because trust me, I'm a Tron player. Do you not think I'm happy about Modern Horizons 3? Think about it. I have played Tron in Modern since its inception. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly the point right here. That is the point. Amongst friends and casual, Wizards came in with a wrecking ball at some point and overpowered the format. Wizards will never acknowledge it's supposed to be casual amongst friends or casual amongst people in a multiplayer format, right? Here's a fun story, by the way. I've met Sheldon on a very much multiple occasions. My Ulamog, the Infinite, is signed by him. Sheldon Minery was a friend and he would be around. He came up with Elder Dragon Highlander. That is actually the purpose of what Commander originally was. Now it was played in casual. Like what you would do between this way, like give it the formats. Sheldon but then it eventually evolved into EDH. From EDH into Commander. But what I think has happened to Commander in the last 3 to 5 years is it's the Critical Role effect. Do you know what Critical Role is? Critical Role ruined D&D. Yes. Exactly. Right there. That is an issue with Commander. That is an issue right there. I kind of wish I had show people like, okay, show this to people. don't think I play, if people don't think I play at all, this is one of them, right? My love child in Commander is Crick. Okay? That is my love child. All right? Pure. Crick and Chainer. Nightmare Adept. Those were my first two Commander decks. Crick was my first. Third was nemesis. That would give you an idea. Right? Nemesis give you an idea. That was my love child. Still is. Think about it. This deck has probably trained some over the years, but not much. 1,000-Year Storm recently put in draws, way to go infinite, way to do things. Make things free, makes things to do things. Absolutely one of my love children. Personally. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I like old school, right? Not the best deck on the planet. You know, not the best. When you look at my decks, right? My decks that I have. The thing with Commander, right? And I'm not having gotten into the whole banning of Jewel Lotus. Jewel Lotus was absolutely made for Commander. I think Commander is hurting long term, though. But before I get into that, like Jewel Lotus, though, that is one too. Look, bear in mind, by the way, this is my version of the deck that. Look, when I said I spent about $200, I did. I had about half these cards. Roughly half. I had to order. Actually, I went to order duplicates. Ripple foils of these. Ripple foils of those. I've probably had. I only have one of these. I have 4 of those. But yeah, for the most part, I had most of this deck. But I had to order, like, the incubator. I had to order a couple of these things. Like, I had to order this. Pretty much. By the way, if I ask you, as a person who understands Commander, what's the difference between Azlik and when you go look at something like... Because this is what's funny people don't get. This is not even all my decks. Right. I want you to imagine. So, I built 3 of the big commanders. I have an Ur-Dragon deck. By the way, I picked my Ur-Dragon up when it was $25. Because Ur-Dragon, for the longest time, was only available in foil. They never reprinted it. And you could never find one because it was only in a commander deck. Look, you have to understand, Commander is a product, right? Sells product, but you need to make it a Commander product. Because, okay, Jewel Lotus, prime example. Jewel Lotus is an example, right? Was only made for Commander. Mana Crypt was made in Vintage. They don't care about Vintage. But they care about the free mana. Which, what's funny is none of these cards were on people's radar. None of them. Why? They're saying it's going too quickly. If you're worried about it, proxy it. If you're worried about the price, proxy it. If you're worried about Snowball, because you know what's funny? You can buy gold bordered versions of like Grim Monolith. Even the gold bordered version of Gaia's Cradle is $100. That's from the championship decks. So Mana Crypt, right? The philosophy, the problem with this, and this is a part of it, like a lot of these others, right? Part of the problem, and I say this is with Commander itself, is Wizards has pushed it as a product. But they don't. But as I said, Rules Committee officially has no ties to Wizards. Been around long enough, you know that's bullshit. But as I said, the leading Commander channels have done what Critical Role did to D&D. Pushed it to the forefront. What people consider overpowered. Rule Zero is never a thing. They will never address the conversation at Rule Zero. They will never talk about it. Right? They're about to talk about actually unbanning silver bordered cards. That's a big deal. That's why, as an investor, I'm thinking about picking up unglued and unhinged cards. That would officially open up the format. The problem, right, is tournaments running it. Nadu is a problem. Well, the Nadu Commander ban, I can understand why. Look, I think I would ban Emrakul as a commander, but bear in mind, it's the same reason Gristlebrand gets banned. Look, bear in mind. So, two of my Eldrazi decks, right? One is this one. And the other one is the 5-color one. Bear in mind, that is like it is a slower deck, but it's like bringing a nuke to a gunfight. Yes. Commander shouldn't be that's the thing. Nope. Right there. It shouldn't be a commander. It should not be. This is what people don't get. Self-regulate. Rule Zero doesn't exist. Right? Rule Zero doesn't exist. It's like, what do you do? Take Overwatch as an example, or League of Legends. Take your favorite gacha game. Why do you have go-tos? Anyone? Why do you have go-tos? Because in a vacuum, that character is good. There is your problem. There is your absolute problem. That is your go-to. Magic's always suffered from this. Whether it's competitive Magic, whether it is casual Magic or Commander. When it became popular, everyone's go-to, yeah, see, Two-Headed Giant I wasn't too much of a fan of. Teams I'm more of a fan of. Two-Headed Giant's a weird format. I felt Wizards always did that wrong. That is a format that is bad. The problem is a lot of these commanders that are released aren't really, because you're trying to address the problem in the room. The rules committee addresses stuff. Dockside Extortionist caught people's radar because of all the artifacts, because of the strategies coming out. Everything that's in Kozilek the Great Distortion, right? You can run every Eldrazi underneath the sun. Get your costs down to 0, right? Be in business. That's what it is. I don't ever think I'd play this one, though. That one's not good. That one might work in there, but not quite. I haven't picked up one of these yet. Ugh, don't know if I'll like to. Blightsteel. Blightsteel's been around for ages. But in reality, right, you can depower a deck and make it good. Kozilek, right, is the weird one but it gets turned into an artifact deck. Because if you're talking what are top commanders, let's see what they say in the last week. What do they say? Amatu, Yuriko, Bumbleflower. Okay. Or Dragon, 5. Traxa, Haymaker. This one's up there as well. Kalia the Vast is up there. This has been talked about as well. I've seen that. Do you know why that's the case, though? Do you know why that's the case? I can tell you one reason. Artifacts. Artifacts are the key. And that's all you have to know. Anything that's a colorless strategy, bleh. Thing about Sarah's Sanctum, right? Sarah's Sanctum works in let me see. No. Sarah's Sanctum works in. Here's the thing. It's in 1% of decks. 1% of decks. And you might have it in 25. So, hypothetically, right? Let's say you're playing an enchantment-based deck. It fully optimizes the deck. But are you playing a Sithis Harvest Hand deck? Probably not. Are you playing a Ghost Shintai deck? Maybe. It's very limited. Uh, it's very limited. Gaia's Cradle's the other one. Uh, Gaia's Cradle's a weird one, right? Because you have Gaia's Cradle's effects. It's in 6% of decks, right? It's in slightly higher only because you have mass ways to untap it or tap it or untap it. So Marwyn is just an elf ball deck at the end of the day. There is no difference between Marwyn and Azuri. So anything that's not a creature-based strategy, Gaia's Cradle's shit in. Yeah, and there's a reason why actually, well, technically, well, part of it people can't afford it, yes. Hold on a sec. See, to be fair, you can proxy it. Let's be clear here. Let's just be 100% clear. First off, right, this is the price of these, but there are gold border versions of this card. First off, I would never play with one of these ever. If you knew how rare those things were, right? Fuck. See, Grim Monolith. Sorry. So I know Star City did not remove them. I know damn well they fucking didn't. Here we are. We'll give you a solution. By the way, if anyone has a plan you want to go with this well, as long as you play in opaque sleeves, you're in business. Okay? As long as you play in opaque sleeves, not opaque, these are legal cards. Should be legal cards. Last I checked, Gaia's Cradle is shit. Last I checked, Gaia's Cradle was like $200. Was $100. Actually. Look, I know there is one. I know there is. There's one point I was actually looking at it. Gaia's Cradle World Championship was like. See, you want a Grim Monolith? Right here. Find one of these. Find one of those. No Commander player would probably say that. Because do I want to play with a deck at a store that's $500? One card that's $500? No. That's as good as owning the real thing. This would be the affordable way. Like, but the problem is finding these. You won't really find these as much. A lot of people threw this stuff away over the years. You know what's funny story about Grim Monolith? I dumped it right before the Legacy boom. Oh boy, and I regretted that with a fucking passion at some point. Grim Monolith, right? If I wanted to play with it, would be the key. You know. But when you look at certain sets, see, most stuff is designed with Commander in mind. The problem is, but see, the problem with Grim Monolith in the reserve list is not the price. It's a different problem than Commander itself. It is the issue that Wizards will not reprint despite it, but it's also the fact sports cards investors believe there's people who invest. Like, why do you think Lord of the Rings sold so much? Right? Why do you think Lord of the Rings? Not because it was popular. Oh, hell no. And where is it? Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings. Oh, God. Gotta look it up when I want, though. T-O-T-R-E-S. Lord of the Rings. Here you are. Here you go. You want to know why? Would you like to know why? You know, I'm going to bet they don't even have any in stock. They have zilch in stock. Okay. Alternate variants, alternate foils. Alternate foils, yes. I'm curious, even if they got one, I have a high doubt. No. So, alternate foils. Basically. Yeah. Alternate foils is why these sold. Serialized cards for the people who are layman's. By the way. See, I want you to understand, if you have ever laid your eyes on one of these, okay? Ask how many people who have ever laid their eyes on one of these. Let alone seen one of those. Yeah, I could agree. Lake of the Dead, right? I skipped over it too because Lord of the Rings was not as good of a set. And I knew it would be dumped on the market. So give you an idea, people who see this later. They made so in Lord of the Rings lore, right? If you know about Lord of the Rings, right? So they made 3,000 elf, 300. So there's 3,000 regular elf rings. There is 300 gold. There's 300 cereal. There is 9,000 human rings, 900 cereal, and 7,000 dwarf rings, and 700 foil. Only in the collector's edition. Then the famous 101 ring, which was opened up in the first week and went into eventually sold for about $2 million. And by the way, the 101 ring got actually graded a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10, which, surprisingly enough, being the same card stock as the 40K card stock, had issues. But you want to know the real reason? There you go. There's human elves in that, and the variants. So most of the set, right? Give or take. That's the real. And then eventually they dumped it all into the world. Oh, by the way, Soul Ring's not getting banned in Commander anytime, so just anything for that. So a lot of stuff you see, right? Commander, which is deemed threats to the format. Mystic Study, still legal. Now, there's a lot of cards, right? Like, I do need to pick myself up a Lake of the Dead. The problem with Lake of the Dead is finding it. Finding a decent Lake of the Dead for a decent price. No, serialized cards are a chase card. And they're like one in, Jesus, if you're lucky, 200? I have never seen them. I have only ever seen them in people who crack, like, I don't think there's a single set they found all the serial cards serialized in. I literally don't. They are like finding a diamond in the ground. Large diamond in the ground. You have a better chance of finding another Hope Diamond, so to speak. Because, see, like a Lake of the Dead, right? Like, I need one for, what is that? Like, Lake of the Dead, it would go into my Crick deck. I mean, in reality. The problem with Lake of the Dead, right, is not the price. Finding one is just, what is a price, right? Well, what's a good price and what's a good condition? Right. Land serves no purpose, you know. Look, Crick is basically it's a deck that you can put into, right? Like I might buy like an HP. Like I'm pretty sure an HP from them is still good. It's just a speculation. It's like the only dragon I'm missing from Portal is this one. Years ago, I could have picked one up for 50. Cannot find one. In English are more expensive than Chinese or Japanese. That's why I think, like, with Commander, right? There's a lot of people talking about the Commander, like what's going to happen. Like, let's say they're going to put in. See, here's what they said, right? They go the slower pace. This is going to get into the philosophy, right? Time and space to do different things. Our goal is to make it easier for players to enjoy slower, more social games. That is a right philosophy. Personally, this is where I think the rules committee. See, okay, the rules committee is kind of like Critical Role. They have set the attitude for it. A lot of the online personalities have set tone for it too. Like, very rare do you sit down and see at the start of a game the rule zero conversation. No one wants to be steamrolled by a deck on turn 4. But I also don't want a game to go 3 hours. I'm sorry. I don't care how much I like sitting at a table with you. I don't want the game to go 3 hours. Right? I don't want the game to go 3 hours. Look, I play Niv Mizzet. Jesus Christ. Do you don't think I know what a Storm deck does? Do you don't think I know what Storm does? I think almost every one of my decks has an infinite combo in it. About every single one. Almost every single one. Elves, there's plenty. Staff of Domination, etc. But you got to play in a timely manner. You got to think about it. But here's the other thing. It's always been a source. The fast starts, right? Our first arch villain, but the advantage has always been balanced for having multiple players gunning for them at once. In the last few years, notable since Strixhaven, we've seen a pattern of stronger mid-game cards leading to players who skip, allowed to snowball straight through the wind. Occasional games like that are fine, but they shouldn't be common, and we're taking steps to frequently down the banning the explosive plays. See, this is the rules committee doing that. Who do you think has been promoting a faster, more competitive standard? Because Wizards did not have a competitive format. Where do you think those players went? To Commander. They built Commander decks. They're CEDH players. Then there is Commander players. You need to have both a competitive deck as well as a casual. I intentionally have decks I've toned down power. Okay? Think of it this way. Azuri. If people know what Azuri is. Does anyone know what green elf ball is? Right? Azuri. There is no difference. Yeah, see Tigrid. Oh yeah, Tigrid's up there. Tigrid's in my Crick deck. So my main elf deck is Azuri. All elf decks turn into elf ball. Then competitive players know what elf ball is. You learn quickly what elf ball is. Pioneer has learned what elf ball is. Basically. What's funny is you have Nykthos, Nikaithos, you got this. And see, okay, there's another Razuri effect. I gotta pick that up at some point. Right. There's like a couple of things I need to pick up that already have most of this stuff. Right? Infinite mana. Now, there was another. So let's say I piece myself out, right? Lathril, Blade of the Elves. It's a toned down version, but it's still as powerful. But it just has black in it. You regulate yourself. You understand? Regulate. It's just like this. This in a vacuum is ridiculous, by the way. Not quite Storm, but this is Infect. Okay? Infect. With a bunch of counters and a bunch of ways to proliferate. With a little bit of stupidity thrown in. Actually, technically, as soon as I read this card, I was building Atraxa anyways. So ultimately, I'm going to go 11 Praetors. Okay. Yeah. Because if no one's read this at all. That thing is scary, by the way. Why do you think there's so many Praetors in here? Then, right, go towards, let's say you go towards here. You have a lower tier play group. Play this. Toxic. Fairer. Police yourself. Please. Standard magic? I keep up with it. I need to get, I'm waiting for, standard really hasn't changed. Shit. What do you... Standard, I'll look at sets, right? See what's going to work and what doesn't, right? Right now, standard is 3 years? Standard largely depends upon see, I actually have not built a standard deck in probably because I don't have a place I play active, but I know about it. So standard is what do you think I would do? Standard wouldn't be that much different. Standard is you look what's doing well. You see what's doing well. I mean, you got 3 years of decks. Well, you got that's not 3 years currently. What is it? What is currently standard for that? I'm going to say it's going back to standard currently is standard. What are the standard sets as it stands? Standard is, I want to say the cutoff because they just got rid of New Capenna. I think they just got rid of New Capenna. Yeah, so it's Brothers War. It's Dominaria United Brothers War. Oh yeah, that's still going to be dominated by. We got Foundations. 2 years. Murders at Karklov Manor. The only thing the decks that disappeared were vampires. Vampires were. That's why Standard's weird, right? Because if you look at the sets that are standard legal, okay, if you ask me, right? Brothers War, Phyrexia sets will always dominate everything. Like, so clearly Red Deck wins is a thing. Because I guess what popular, but it was. Hold on a second. So standard, right, is a different meta, right? Because you still got one Shielder of the Apocalypse in there, which is Dominaria United, but well, yeah, sideboarding Plague, right? See, the thing right now is you got 3 years of sets. I mean, look, they didn't ban Fable of the Mirror Breaker because see, and this is something with standard. It's the puzzle with standard. When I actually play standard, I'll get into it. Right. I mean, you're talking right, you're talking let's say 10 Mind Crumb. Of course, they're gonna have banned cards. Interesting. Jesus H. Christ, folks. Man, I would have not have walked into a store with that. That man has money. Jesus. But you know what's funny is he brought that in. And I firmly believe that people around here have that stupid money. Yeah, see, everyone plays, was it Chrome and Tinda? Jesus H. Christ. But that is competitive CDH, though. Jesus. People around here have that kind of money. Why? No, that's because Meat Hook was the problem is cards in a vacuum. Here's something to give you an idea. These are standard legal sets. Okay. These are the current. So you're about to see a rotation next year. So these are 3 years of sets, right? These are very key. The problem is Meat Hook Massacre was... So here's a problem, right? If you think big cards, Shieldred is still here. Toxic is still here. But when you look at sets, Wilds of Eldraine's not really talked about. Lost Caverns isn't. Mana base from Karlov Manor is talked about. Right? But in reality, a lot of these cards don't get played. The reason why people pass over sets. Like Dustmorn is the first powerful set in probably a while. Bloomburrow's cool, but too chaotic with no support. Outlaws of Thunder Junction has some stuff that's good. Murders at Karlov Manor is just support cards. Lost Caverns of Ixalan does have some decks that are built into it. Wilds of Eldraine is just a passerby set. Largely what would define a meta is still here. No, in constructed standard. If Karlov Manor was not a good set. By metrics, it was not good by Wizards. What do you mean? I meant most. Most is what I meant. I'm not as in tune, but like majority of the set doesn't have staples. Okay. Here's how I define it, okay? This is my thing. In a vacuum, unless I see it in my local area, right? Wilds of Eldraine, Wilds of Eldraine. Wilds of Eldraine, Wilds of Eldraine. Okay, so one card, right? What do you think the prices of the sets are? Now, traditionally, right? Hypothetical. Yeah, let's say virtues, right? You say virtues. The virtues, right? I'm not saying some of these are really bad cards. Like some of these, there's parts that I'm saying there is entirely possible. Some stuff, when a set bottoms out, usually in my eyes, it's not a strong set. once a set has reached the dollar bargain bin, it's usually not played. So let's say it's a mythic. Mythics shouldn't define a set. All right? Mythics shouldn't define a set. For the most part, when you're looking at a set, you got to look as a set as a cost, right? You have to look as a set as building. It's not that I don't play standard if I'm looking at a set. Hypothetically, right? A lot of this set was passed over. Black Virtue was good. Blue Virtue was a little bit different. When you look at a set, you have to figure out, is the set going to be good? Like this Virtue, right? In a standard environment, does this Virtue, unless you have something to build around it, is it going to be as good? Because this set brought blue-black fairies back again, but it's not quite fairies. So a lot of this stuff, right, is already dollar bargain bin. Some stuff you could pretty much use, find a way to use it. Right? Was it forgotten about? Maybe. I mean, that's what you have to think about when you look at a set. Like, does a set get skipped over for a reason? Mm-hmm. Yes, most sets are chaff, right? But let's say you take the rares. It really, truly, and it's things where you look at a set, right? Hypothetically, what makes a set good, what makes a set bad, or what makes a set power creep, right? What creatures age well? What set ages well in a vacuum? This is where Wizards, they neglected standard for a long time. And then you're starting to make sets for standard. You have to look at a support system. That's the problem that's actually the problem with one of Commander. I mean, Standard's design. Standard's design is, let's assume you had 8 sets in rotation, right towards the very end. You're always going to have one set promoted by an archetype. Let's assume the start of a block is always supported. This is an old formula for standard. When you know a rotation happens, right? So when a rotation happens, so right around when a rotation always happens, just so you know. You look at a color, you look at what you're doing. Now, just take this theory crafting. is there a build around? Soldiers, vampires, merfolk. Merfolk's a theme, right? Pirates are a theme. So let's say the pirates are a theme. I can guarantee you one thing that wasn't bad. Yes. So when you look at it, right? Let's say hypothetically you're going to build around the merfolk. You're going to break it down, look into the merfolks. Why do the merfolks work? Why does that archetype work? This is actually just the way the sets go. Weirdly enough, it's kind of how it works. And then you see what stays consistent. Like Dustmore. Bloomburrow, right? Bloomburrow is a prime example, right? I just use this site. It's easier just to see. Let me see something. Bloomburrow, right? Awesome. Yeah, when you look at, let's just look at this in vacuum. It's a lot easier. Let's just look at this in a vacuum. So, think about it. When you look at a set in spoilers, all right? Look at the cost. Where do you think a place card fits? You got to ask, right? You have to take into account, where does a card fit? Look, sure, commander fodder right here. Pure commander fodder. I highly doubt it's ever going to see constructed play outside of commander. Now, it has a baby brother in commander that's red and black, right? See, there's, by the way, there's Meat Hut Massacre right here, too. Rather funny. But let's say, hypothetically, if I look at what won out of these, look at a card, realistically. That is a really good card. That's good. Right here. Right here. That's good. Red 1. Red has a lot of really good cards. Basically, when you look at like this set, there's a lot of good cards in this set. This card alone could be Demonic Tutor. Well, do not know, right? We don't know if this is going to be Demonic Tutor. If this hits Demonic Tutor, that card will hit a standard. What? What do you mean? Which card? Demonic Council? Delirium is going to be. Oh, you mean Demonic Count? They're never going to have a straight-up tutor. You know, by the way, there's a staple in this set. Many people are going to sleep on it. It's the only second card of its kind, in fact. It's It's a feed the swarm, by the way. People are going to sleep on it. They're not going to think about it. What it's called, actually. It actually destroys enchantments. See, I have a firm bet right here that this is going to become a staple. Right here. All of these are going to become staples. Every one of them. At least these are. Right. These verges are going to become staples. And I can guarantee you the last 5 are in the works somewhere. Those things have held their value for a very good while. These right here. Well, I don't know about those, but that's a special guest right there. That's funny. By the way, I'm so tired of this. This is commander bait, by the way. Right here. By the way, I'm not the hugest fan of having 80 prints of a card. This, as much as commander, is killing it. See, the problem with commander, right, is how they've mismanaged it. Because they mismanaged design of the base game for commander. The problem with current set design is apparently you need 10 printings of every card. I warned this to somebody who sells cards a long time ago. I asked why. What is a card worth? Tell me how a promo sells for the price of a regular foil. By the way, see, that's going to be a staple somewhere too eventually. Haunted Screen's going to be a staple. You know, I can see that. Very rare to eat my words that I'm wrong, right? It's the other. But there is one, and I can't think what it is. It's a staple that will be a staple for multiple formats. See, like if I was going red-black or so, red-black wins very handily from this set. Well, they reprinted Pyroclasm. It's funny card about this. This is really good commander bait, but no one's really doing it. That's actually really, really good. Right here. It's very cheap. Like, if you look at a lot, I think, of the new ley lines, right? Depending on the new ley lines. The problem is you have to ask in standard, as a prime example, what a set's going to be good. This right here is not standard material. That card is good. That one, Leyline and Mutation. Will be in every 5-color commander deck. Should be. This card should be in every commander 5-color, but it's my opinion because of utility. For one reason. The fact alone you can cast anything for Wooburg. The ley lines are good. But this is something you have to do a dive into, and you look into why stuff is good. Like, I have been busy doing games, so other stuff, so I just haven't looked at this as a whole. But the set, but yeah, Commander's in trouble, and that's the case because on the whole thing on that, right? Because there's a lot of good creatures in this set, which are 3. They cost 3. Look, I don't know what Tyvar is going to do. Tyvar could be in any like elf decks. Like a lot of stuff that's pure commander. Some of the commander decks for this set are really good. Like the overlords are just weird. It's strange to me. But then again, some cards like this look well in they look strange in a vacuum. Some sets don't show their true value until you got to give her wait. You got to wait and do play testing on your own, find out, and then you got to see. So I'll leave it at that because I may have to see it because I do play. It's not like I don't know and I have to keep up with this stuff. See, some people, right? Certain cards I could see useful. Now, in a vacuum, good. But when you're looking at a set or looking at it, you got to figure it out. But this set's power creep, though, is real. I mean, Final Vengeance is real easy to pull off. It's just the question of can you pull it off? Is there a home for it? Outside of dirt, which is land, nothing ever has a certainty. But again, it's just certain stuff, right? You can just try to make bets on. But like if I were a betting person, right here. All the Verges get a play set before they get expensive. They're going to be in every format known to man. Probably not Legacy, but they're going to be. So, anyways, I will leave people with that.